We're going to be looking at 4 horror games this morning that people have sent me in. None of these games are out yet. They are games that have demos, but they're not sort of commercially released yet, because the whole point of what we do here on Indies Under the Knife is to sort of showcase and critique games that aren't finished yet. I've tried to group them together so that if you're into a particular genre of games, you can tune in for that. And that's why today we're not just doing horror, we're doing a specific type of horror, so horror with puzzles. I'm quite interested to play these because I think the issue I've had before when I've tried to group together and play horror games as a kind of genre is it's not really a gameplay genre, it's a mode or a mood. And you can have a horror game that's a survival horror game, you can have a horror game that's a puzzle horror game. Because of the lovely time that these developers have taken to give me information about their games, I've been able to categorize these, and instead of just calling them horror games, they're puzzle horror games, and that gives us a little bit more to go on. So the first one we're looking at is called Last Report. It seems to be in first person, so lots of sort of Papers, Please type first person interactions with things. Maybe some cryptid stuff, maybe some sort of Twin Peaksy weird cryptids in the countryside type stuff. We've got some gore, but it does look like a game that is more leaning on mystery and kind of horror happening in a sort of everyday location. And as always, the links to play these demos are all in the description for the stream, or the VOD if you're watching the video afterwards. So let's check this out. The park recently got new management, so the rules have changed. I need to check the guidebook. Welcome to the National Park Staff Handbook. This guide will help you navigate your role as a park worker with key information on park rules, safety, and work instructions. I feel like all of these are going to be a kind of Chekhov's gun to the type of stuff to expect in the game, right? Like flying drones is going to be a red herring where we're going to see something in the sky, and because we've seen it here, we'll just be like, oh, it's just someone flying a drone. Actually, it's like a possessed seagull. Hey, look who's here. How's work going?
I don't know, John. I just got here. I haven't even turned on my computer yet.
Okay, it's giving us all the framing of like why the horror stuff is going to work and why the communication is like a bit broken from what we'd expect. Cracking open an old one with the boys. Excellent. Now I've just got like this mental picture of like, it's a sunny day, there's some dudes in like Gap advert clothes. They get a Miller Lite out of the portable fridge that they brought down to the lake, and then this like tentacle goes out of the Miller Lite and starts slapping them, and all the yacht rock music that was playing all goes out of tune, and the tentacle just starts flailing around, and then the handheld camera gets dropped and it all goes fuzzy. That's the sort of thing that happens in this park, cracking open an old one with the boys.
No, a new guy's starting his first shift today, and I need you to give him the keys to his cabin. I'm out on patrol. Don't feel like coming all the way back without the car.
I have a suspicion that this is going to be a Papers, Please like, and we're never actually going to leave the cabin. We're just going to run reports. The atmosphere is great. We're sort of like doing pixel art, Papers, Please meets Twin Peaks type stuff. I think we're not going to leave the office. I think it's going to be a office work simulator. Hold the right mouse button to drag the report. A lone fisherman is spotted on a boat in Lake S20, illegally fishing in a protected zone. Okay, that looks like what it says it is, so I'm going to put it on the computer. Open the file. The image matches the description. There's a guy in a boat. He's doing some fishing. He's not supposed to do fishing. I'm going to submit that report. Select all images with a deer. That's got a deer. That's got a deer. That's got a deer. This is such a good setup because it's going to get us into the flow of doing this mundane task. And then we're going to hit this at some point and it's going to go Pony Island on us, and just there's going to be some weird stuff. And this is one of the things that I always struggle with horror games where it's just horror all the time. You need, like, if you want proper sort of creepy cinematic or literary horror, you need to have contrast, and this game is already setting us up for that. It's great. Let's submit our file. What's that sound? Excuse me, what were you doing out there? Hello? Hello?
I've got to stop smoking crack on the night shift.
Printed incorrectly.
Plant a tree.
Knocking the door?
Can you explain something to me? Why the fuck is there a bear trap in front of your cabin door? Aha!
That's what that person was doing. Well, it's fine. I'm not going to go out there anyway. I was just going to chill in here for the entire game, so it doesn't really matter if there's a bear trap out there.
John, I just saw some guy outside a moment ago, but when I opened the door, he ran off.
Must have been him. He set the trap? Are you serious?
I really, really like lots of things this game is doing. I loved Papers, Please. I love the idea of taking something as simple as basically a spot the difference puzzle and turning it into a full video game. I really like the idea of having quite a mundane activity to do, and then that is obviously going to have some horror elements in it. Like, I can see the capture becoming a horror element. I can see these images and the descriptions becoming a horror element, but maybe we have to get a bit deeper in before we see that. And just like having this back and forth between the story and what's going on with the interactive elements is really nice. The mood is really cool. I think it starts a little bit bleak and dark. Like, if we introduced the player and it was like sunset and it was a little bit pretty and everything before everything went really, really sort of spooky looking, it might give it a bit more of a sense of like dynamics. But I kind of like everything that's going on here. The writing is pretty decent. But yeah, very, very interested in this one. It's called Last Report. I wonder if the pacing of the demo is different from the main game. If I was making this as like a demo of this game, I might make the main game slower and then make the demo get to this point a bit quicker. It's hard to tell, you know. I'm always interested in how people make their demos maybe a bit faster or something like that for Steam. But yeah, this is great. There's lots of things I like here. If you want to play a spooky Papers, Please like that has menial tasks mixed in with a creeping sense of dread in a everyday location, then this is doing all of those things very well. So I don't have much kind of critical feedback of this. Lots of lovely little kind of sound design choices as well with how these sound effects play out. That is perfectly timed to the animation. That was the first game of 4 that we're looking at today, and it's called Last Report, and I definitely recommend checking that out if it looked interesting. We're going to get some surrealism now, which is why I put this one second, because I thought we'd go for something that looked like classic horror first, so all the horror bods could go, ah yes, a spooky cabin in the woods, ah yes, a mysterious threatening man, and then we can go into trippy land. This one says, a first-person horror puzzle game that seamlessly combines the two genres by integrating the monsters into the puzzles. Very interesting. The design of the puzzles is the thing they'd like me to focus on and think about. And it's a bit of a game design experiment. It's time to go to the place where all of your fears coalesce. A 1990s music video. Missy Elliott could be lurking around any corner. Clashing patterns. Very fashionable. For the Y2K kids.
Hello.
More unreasonable body standards. We've got a kind of liminal horror game here that has a really interesting visual aesthetic, and it's kind of doing backrooms type stuff, but it also reminds me of like 90s music videos and stuff like that. Very kind of Y2K. And what have we got? We've got some spooky guy, very nonchalant, very demure. And then when I go into the next area, you can see we've got a mini map up the top as well. We've got this guy who follows me, and it seems like he only follows me when I break line of sight. So if I go like this, he's like a Mario ghost, right? If I look away, yeah, it's when I look away. I thought it might have been when I'm not looking at him and I'm moving. So it seems like maybe I need to get him somewhere without him touching me. When he touches me, I die. See, when he's around the corner, he can move because I can't see him. So if I go here, if I block my line of sight with the pillars, this is already a really cool conceit because it's creepy. But once you know the mechanic, you can avoid the jump scare. Like the first time I ran into this guy, I just went around the corner and he ran up to me and I turned my back on him and I died. Once you sort of know how the mechanic works, you can avoid the scariest part by just keep facing them. And I think maybe I'm just supposed to lure him out and then walk backwards to the end of the level, maybe. So if I look at him for as much of the time as I can, and don't break line of sight, and then he's kind of far away from me, then I can get to where he was on the map and run for it. It'll take him a while to catch up. Okay, let's check out the second puzzle. The thing that this could possibly suffer from is just every level is a variation on the same thing, right? Because we have to find where the chaser is and then lead them backwards through a thing to get them away from the end and then go back to the end. So a problem this could face is just that every level is a variation on the same thing. But we'll find out. Let's take a look at the second puzzle. Look at this lovely, lovely place. Look at it. It's gorgeous. You have entered the Purple Realm. Too many. Yeah, I mean, having a character that only follows you when you look at them, right? That's Ghosts from Mario. It's definitely not a unique mechanic, but this is an interesting way to use it. So these guys are going to start coming towards me. If I spin around and then I keep looking at each one an equal amount, then they won't be able to get close enough to me. So that's kind of my strategy here, which is very disorienting to do, but I think that's the way to beat that. Whew. Okay. We've had one level that introduced the mechanic with one guy, a second level that introduces it with lots, where you have to approach it in a totally different way, in a much more kind of reactive, fast way. And then let's just see how this develops. Doctor Who ass MFs. Puzzle design here is really cool. This is a really interesting puzzle because when you've played the first couple of levels, you sort of wonder how many variations of this are going to be possible, because it seems like a very one-trick puzzle. And as I go through 3 and 4, I'm starting to think, oh yeah, there are variations on this possible. I'm sort of wondering about verticality, because all of the puzzles so far have been flat and on one level. And I'm wondering about being above them or being below them. Can they fall off of ledges and like land somewhere else and stuff like that? I'm not sure if the other puzzles are going to explore that, but it would certainly be an interesting dimension to see explored. This is the end of the demo. The full game will be coming soon and will include story, more worlds, and mechanics, as well as an easy-to-use puzzle editor for making and sharing custom levels. I think having a level editor for this is a good shout, because seeing what people do when you give them those tools, people will come up with stuff with this that you wouldn't have expected. And as the developer said in the chat, this is not a unique mechanic. That having stuff that chases you when you're not looking at it is a very standard trope, not just within horror games, but more broadly as well. But the spatial element of like using the level to try and break their line of sight, and it's not just trying to break their line of sight, it's trying to selectively break their line of sight at certain points. We've got a new mechanic here, I think. Some sort of tripwire? Damn it. It's a really neat puzzle. Some of the stuff I really like. I love the way they move. The sort of like goofy childlike run is really creepy. So much creepier than having them move like monsters. And I also just love that you've got that sort of psychedelic vaporwave aesthetic. It feels like it fits the tone of the game, right? You're not going for like full-on gore horror or anything super dependent on jump scares. It's much more like there is a puzzle and the jump scare is there as a punishment for failing the puzzle. So the sort of match between the liminal vaporwavy aesthetic and the way the puzzles work feels very strong. Riddle Me Scared it was a 2-week sprint prototyping the game. I wanted to see how far I could take the concept of a 3D creepy card-based murder mystery game in 2 weeks in order to determine if I should keep working on the concept or not.
I've seen what others do not see, a silent witness to tragedy. Though my hands are soft, my gaze is sharp, my heart beats heavy in the dark.
Not a fan of these AI portraits, but this, to be fair, this was made in 2 weeks. My heart beats heavy in the dark. Whose heart beats heavy in the dark? Who's the silent witness to tragedy? She's got sharp eyes, but not soft hands, probably. And I can't really tell what's different between some of these characters. Though my hands are soft, my gaze is sharp, my heart beats heavy in the dark. This guy's got a thing for hearing your heartbeat. So is that linked to that? Because having a stethoscope doesn't mean your heart beats heavy in the dark. So this feels like a red herring. The gardener is not going to have soft hands. The old lady is not going to have soft hands. And I don't know who she's supposed to be or who she's supposed to be. The only one I can link to the riddle in any way is the guy with the stethoscope because of my heart beats heavy in the dark. But it's not his heart he listens to. So if this is the correct answer, then I think this is a bad riddle. So let's try it. Does that mean the answer is wrong? He's not got soft hands. It's definitely not him. Her gaze is sharp. That's definitely the sharpest gaze out of what all of these people look like. The problem with trying to design riddles is riddles are supposed to sound vague, but the thing they apply to is very specific. But a lot of this, because we're looking at an image, it's quite subjective. My gaze is sharp. Let's go with her. Yes. Okay, we got it right. See, I don't see an old lady like that and think of someone with soft hands.
Within my slender embrace lies the power of both mercy and murder. A single pressing moment can hush the heartbeat forever. Tread carefully, for salvation and doom share the same form. Something that can kill you immediately, and it's slender, it's thin. A single pressing moment. Now, this could be a pillow because you press it on someone's face and it kills them. But this isn't slender, right? So when I think of slender objects in this, a rope is slender, but it doesn't kill you by pressing on you. I wouldn't really describe scissors as slender. I would describe the syringe and the coat hanger as slender. I would say the tread carefully line is most likely giving us the syringe because you can step on syringes as well. I mean, you can step on any of these. You can step on a dog if you want to. But the syringe feels like it goes mostly with that. So I'm going to say this is my answer and lock it in. And the game says I'm right, but I could see how that could have been the pillow. I could see how it could have been the other ones. I am a chamber where reflection meets renewal, a private pause in the cleansing cycle of life. Yet behind closed doors, silent secrets swirl away.
And how literal are we being about reflection? A chamber where reflection meets renewal. Are they talking about the washing machine? That's a private pause in the cleansing cycle of life. I feel like silent secrets swirl away in the washing machine. That's a washing machine. That's got a washing machine as well. No, that's an oven. That's an oven with a round door. There's a lot of times when I just flat out don't play games if they have AI art in them, but I think this is a pretty decent use case because this is a game that needs lots of art. It actually reminds me of Dixit, or there's a similar game to Dixit called Mysterium, where one player is playing as a ghost and you use these weird cards to sort of partially communicate stuff. I am going to go for the image that has the washing machine in it because I think this stuff about the cleansing cycle and the swirling away is about a washing machine. Oh, got it wrong. Oh, we got to do the same ones again. And it says reflection meets renewal, so maybe it should be a room where there's a mirror in it as well. And that's the one we chose last time, which is not right, apparently. And reflection meets renewal. I think that is the renewing light of the sun coming down and reflecting off the pool. Wrong. Incorrect. So we're going to go with the bathroom, like you say in the chat. Let's go with the bathroom. I think just having a flat out wrong answer where you go back to the start of the game might be a kind of structural problem that you might have to think about how to do that better. So I think, given that we have AI generated cards, I wouldn't be surprised if the riddles haven't been written by a GPT as well. I mean, even if you haven't generated the riddle, if you've written the riddle, but the relationship between the riddle and the correct answer might be fine. But the problem is, what else is here as a kind of throw you off the scent possible answer, right? Like this one. I carry whispers concealed by promise of privacy. Each visit brings about of uncertainty. My burden is light, but the weight of what I bring is immeasurable. My burden is light, but the weight of what I bring is immeasurable. That's metaphorical, right? In a riddle, when you say the weight of what I bring is immeasurable, it sounds like you're not talking about literal weight. It sounds like you're talking about the Doctor in this instance, because the weight of what he brings is heavy in terms of importance. But the meaning of this part of the riddle is actually literal, and it's talking about the weight of what they bring as being an actual parcel, right? So this is confusing because, like, this riddle, I think all of the parts of the riddle point more towards the Doctor than towards the mailman. To make this really shine, you would have to go through every riddle and think not just about, like, the image for the right answer, like which one is the right answer, but what are all the other things that are being shown at the same time? Because that was an example of where one of the wrong answers, I think, if you think of the way that riddles generally work and how much they use metaphor, the Doctor felt like the more poetic, metaphorical answer to the riddle. And that's generally, I think, what people will be reaching for when they do riddles. That's how riddles sort of traditionally work. Let's get a list of the riddles from The Hobbit. These are the riddles that Gollum asked Bilbo Baggins in The Hobbit. What has roots, as nobody sees, is taller than trees, up, up it goes, and yet never grows? The answer is a mountain. A mountain has roots that you can't see because they're underground. It goes up, and it doesn't grow. It's not a biological thing that can grow like a tree. So the answer is mountain. And when you hear that the answer is mountain, you immediately look back at the riddle and you go, oh yeah, that makes sense. But the riddles we just saw in this game don't have that impact. To be fair, I think some of the riddles in the game we just saw do have that effect. Like the one with the chef. In a realm where life dances and shadows play, I sculpt sustenance from chaos and heat. I'm going to go with the chef. Yeah. That was an example of one that stood out and was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. But this is the feeling you're really reaching for with a riddle puzzle, is when you hear the riddle, it's not literal. I mean, some of it is taller than trees. A mountain is taller than trees. But you've sort of got like this weird sort of poetic, non-literal meaning. But then when you hear the answer, you immediately go, oh yeah. This is a really difficult game to judge. There are some possible problems with the structure of the game, like you do the questions, you get them wrong, you go back, and now you just redo the questions, and if you know them by you sort of do them again by memory. That sucks, right? That's not good. But it kind of feels like I'm just sort of judging your ability to write riddles, and the fact that these are AI generated images sort of suggests to me that you've gone to a GPT and typed in, write a riddle where the answer is a mailman. And it's written you this riddle, I carry whispers concealed by promise, blah, 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 blah. And the answer is mailman. But then you've put it with these other possible answers. And Doctor is a better answer to this riddle than mailman. So it's a neat idea. I don't think the execution is good. Let's move on. This is called Peak. It's a horror-themed memory puzzle game that relies heavily on spatial audio for clue gathering. Okay, clue gathering, performing a ritual type game. We played one like this a little while ago, and I think it's an interesting theme. Nobody likes tutorials, but trust me, this is for your own good. Finishing in just a few minutes, I swear. Okay, fine. Play down on the bottom left. If you're making a game for a culture that reads left to right, then your continue buttons should usually be on the right. If you're making a game for a culture that reads right to left, then your continue button should be on the left. If you're making a game for both of those and you don't want to localize the button positions, then the button should be in the middle. That's Sort of UI localization 101 stuff. Welcome to the den. You are here to perform a ritual. The entire game takes place in this one room. You'll rely on sound and just a bit of sight to uncover the truth. The rounds of the ritual begin and end with you kneeling in the center of the grid. The ritual happens in repeating rounds. First, the listening round, where you keep your eyes shut and listen for clues. Then a placement round, where you place relics on the ground based on what you heard during the listening phase. Don't know if you ever played this game in school where someone's sitting in the middle and you have to take turns to sneak around the outside holding a noisy object like a pair of keys or something. And then the person has to point in that direction. It sounds like it's using a little bit of that DNA. Yeah, I'm available for voice acting, but only if it's doing a spooky Vincent Price audiobook kind of voice. So I've got two spooky modes. You've got Vincent Price, which is slightly snivelly and up here a little bit. And then you've got the sort of Edgar Allan Poe audiobook where you go down here and you say, "Quoth the raven nevermore." Each round, she will make a sound in one of the grid squares. So I can already see that if this game has a trouble, I think it's going to be the relationship between the sounds and the objects, right? Because all of this is a cool game concept. This is the kind of tutorial where I'm happy to read it. I'm happy to hear how the game works because it's a cool idea. And as I read the tutorial, I'm like, yeah, cool, I want to do this activity. But like, flash forward, I'm imagining hearing a sound and then looking around at the objects and being like, these sounds don't match these objects. Let's see. Let's see if it's delivered on the relationship between sounds and items. So the Bible is for thumps, the crucifix was for spirits, the rosary is for the voices of demons. So in the full game, we're going to be putting 4 objects down in 8 spaces based on the direction that we heard a particular thing happening in. The game is all about deducing on which grid places the spirit's sound are made. As such, positional awareness is important. You'll notice there are certain objects on the perimeter of the room. Objects such as the piano, the rocking chair, and others will make noise when she passes near to them. Good sound choices. A lot of these sounds are very subtle. I'm going to turn the sound up on my OBS before we actually do the gameplay. These are very well chosen sounds. They're quite subtle. Hold E to perform the ritual. Turn off the light and begin the ritual in the center square when you're ready. The border of the screen will flash white when she makes an important sound. Make sure you keep holding down E. Okay, I hold E to close my eyes. Need the sound up really loud. It's very hard to hear. Looking right. There she is. I'm already very interested to see how this feels when it's out of tutorial mode. Because I can see the need for a tutorial because it's such a unique set of mechanics that you do need to teach it step by step this way. But the mood of the game is completely broken by it, so... The earlier difficulties will help you with visual indicators so you know where a sound was made. We know this round will only use whispers, but other runs will randomize which sounds are used. She will now come back out like before and check your placements like some kind of weird ghost inspector. If she passes over a correct placement, a bright white flash will occur. If this wasn't a tutorial, you wouldn't have to keep... You would have just died. Keep holding E. Don't stop praying until she's gone. I'm praying. I'm holding E to pray. I want to play one round of this without the tutorial stuff on, because it's all a cool concept. The mood of this is great. The setup is really interesting. But the whole concept of a game that is just like, pay attention and the game will tell you what to do and then you do it. There's not much there. And I think if we didn't have this gap in the middle of having to use the spatial audio in order to pay attention to work out what to do, I think that it wouldn't be much of a game. So welcome back to Indie Jazz Clinic, the only channel on YouTube where you can watch a middle-aged man make jazz in your favorite indie game. Yeah, Paul in the chat just said, if a game tells you what to do and you do it, it's not a game. It's just like a challenge, right? It's kind of like rhythm games like Guitar Hero and stuff. It kind of falls in the category of what I would think of as a challenge rather than a game, because it's just instructions told to you really fast and then you do them. And I guess with this, it's really just a case of whether or not the spatial audio element is enough noise in the kind of signal chain for it to feel like a game rather than just get given instructions and then follow them. It's really a cool idea, and I don't know if I've just been put off of it by how step-by-step that tutorial was. And it's a difficult one, because any game that is doing really unusual, unique stuff does need to sort of handhold you and lead you through it step by step, because you're not used to it. But I just feel like I'm not going to get on with this well, and I want to give it a full chance with the harder mode without all of the tutorial interruption. But the candle feels a bit confusing when we have so many candles in the environment already. But I'm pretty sure that both of the things I heard were thuds, so I'm going to put that down. And then I turn this off, and I go and pray, and she comes back down, and then she checks what I've done. Which is a bit contrived and sort of takes away from the horror a little bit, I think. Back behind me. Gone past the piano. That sounded like it was in the same direction. Gone back upstairs again. Here is my general feeling about this game. This is a lovely environment. I really appreciate all of the effort the developer has put into tutorializing their game mechanics. I think this stuff, like the glow and the flash that happens when the ghost is walking around, all of those helper mechanics, they're very well intentioned, but it basically leaves you in a situation where I've been playing this game for 20 minutes and I haven't actually got a chance to play the game, because we're playing a game about spatial audio and it's doing hand-holding that is maybe just making it too hard for me to learn. I like all of this conceptually. I think it's interesting. It's not a very good spectator sport, which is why I've put myself massive on the screen like this, so that you can see me furrow my brow as I puzzle at the game. Because this isn't a very good game to watch for streaming, because the spatial audio element is the thing that the player is focusing on. These highlights that are happening in level 2, I guess we're in now, and when I'm kneeling down and that flash happens to tell me that an important sound happened and I needed to pay attention, all of that is basically playing the game for me. What I would really have loved is to be told how to play the game and then immediately go into the hard mode and play it straight away. Because that would at least give me a sense of what really playing the game is. I think if someone can play your game for 20 minutes and not really get a chance in that time to engage with what your game is really about, you maybe have a problem, because people's attention span is just too short. I need a game to show me what it's really about very quickly. Too much tutorial before we get to what the game really is, because it's a game about spatial audio, and all of the visual stuff that you're throwing in to help it is undermining it for us. And this may be very specific to me. It may be that your audience really need to go through this tutorial and experience the thing. I think maybe there's a way of structuring this to deal with that problem. Like, maybe you do the tutorial, then you throw people into a really hard game to show them what the full game is like, and then maybe you make it easier after that. I don't know. Maybe it will work for your audience better than it does for me, but this very slow tutorial that takes like 20 minutes to get to the point where you're getting multiple sounds, you're not getting these helper flashes and highlights on the floor and stuff. It's just too slow to get to the point, I think. While we're here, though, we might as well do a new version of the thank you to the patrons song, like a free jazz version. Thank you to the patrons. You have enabled this thing to exist. Thank you to the patrons. I have put your name on this list.
Thank you to the patrons. You have enabled this thing to exist. Thank you to the patrons. I put your name on this list. Thank you to the patrons. Your donation showing you can. Thank you to the patrons.
When we go to war with supernatural forces, may you be spared.